Oh, you're now live.
Hey,
Oh my, I tell you what, this flipping technology is having fun and games with us today, isn't it, Jill?
it
Uh,
really is.
I think we're here about 5 minutes late because all sorts of things have been happening with the tech this morning. So we may or may not be live on LinkedIn. It kind of says we're live, but it doesn't seem very sure about it. For some strange reason, it seems to have lost the connection to my Facebook business page. So we're live on my Facebook personal profile today, having some fun and games. And we're hopefully also live on my YouTube channel as well. So good morning to anybody who is watching us. Please do chip in and say hello or give us a wave or anything like that, because it's always really good to know who is actually watching. So this morning we're going to have a conflab about the difference between your business strategy and your marketing strategy, because there is quite a lot of overlap and quite a lot of alignment. And actually, I think people get bamboozled by the whole concept of strategy anyway. So today I am talking to the lovely Gill Bishop, marketing strategist extraordinaire. And we are hopefully going to show you the overlaps, the differences, and how to get the two of them working brilliantly for you together. So Jill, tell us, welcome. Thank you for coming on board this morning. Tell us a little bit about you, your background, how you got into marketing and into strategy in particular.
Okay, so thanks for having me. So yeah, I'm a marketing strategist and consultant. So basically that means that I help businesses get really organised so that they're visible in the right places, so that they build relationships and grow their business, which is what we all want to do, isn't it? How did I get into marketing? My very first job, when I was 19. I was an office junior in a PR agency, and it's just gone from there. And I've worked in food, dealing with the major retailers, and also arts and crafts products, and also professional services and healthcare. So I've got quite a varied background. Always worked with small businesses. I've never worked in a large corporation, and I think I probably would be a nightmare if I did, because I'd be doing everybody else's job for them.
That would be an interesting one. Yeah, I mean, I've done it the other way around. So I started off in corporate, and it's interesting because actually there's an awful lot of foundational things you learn in corporate which are brilliant to apply to a small business. Even things like how to recruit, or how to interview, or how to manage people, or how to conduct appraisals and set targets and things like that, which I found over the years that if somebody's gone into business for themselves and they don't have a corporate background, they have a lot of gaps in a lot of areas. But you're right, the other key thing, of course, is in corporate you've got 15 million other people to just hand things off to, and you only ever have to do this little bit here. And it's a big transition, switching from that to then trying to run your own business and do absolutely everything, including working on your strategy. Okay,
so do you want to kick things off and talk about what business strategy is? Or
yes, well, I think strategy as a whole is always a really interesting one, because I know some people get intimidated just by the word strategy. And I always say to people, if you find the word itself too big a word or too scary a word, then really you can just break it down and call it a plan. It is actually a bit more than that, because you are looking at the reasons behind the plan. But it is just your high level plan. So for me, what a business strategy is all about is understanding exactly what you want to achieve from your business. Being really clear about what good business means to you, what success means to you, what your boundaries are, looking at things like exactly who you want to help and how you want to help them, and where you want your business to be in the long term. That's very much your headline business strategy. So thinking about objectives, and I am a very big believer in your personal objectives being as important, if not more important, than your business objectives. And I think that's even more key in a small business, because in small business, it's very easy for your business to take over your life. Whereas what it really should do is actually help you create the life that you really want. So I guess in a nutshell, that's what business strategy is. It is understanding what you want to create and then starting to work on those building blocks that will help you do exactly that. So with that in mind, Gill, how and where does marketing strategy come into play?
So exactly as you've just said, those personal goals are really, really important, particularly like you say in small business. Because from those you can then work out what the business objectives are. And from there we can then go, right, what is your marketing going to do to help you achieve those? And the marketing strategy or the marketing plan looks at who you want to talk to, how you're going to talk to them, what you're going to say, and give you all those tactics and give you a plan so that you actually do it. And then you're working towards those business goals, which is working towards those personal goals where, you know, do what you want to do and sail off into the sunset.
That's exactly it. Buy the multi-million-pound yacht. If I'm looking a tad distracted over here, it's because our tech has been a bit of a bugger today. So we don't appear to be live on LinkedIn. So I'm not sure what's happening there. It's kind of telling us we're connected, but we're clearly not. We are going live on my Facebook profile, and I think we'll be live on YouTube because that one all looks good. So we'll share a little later onto LinkedIn, and we'll hopefully allow us to do that. So, yeah, you talked very much there, Gill, around then getting into the specifics of the kind of the what you're going to do. And I guess one of the key areas, and I think this is one of the areas that confuses a lot of people, is around customers and who you want to work with.
Yeah.
So can you give us a snippet about what kind of things do people need to understand around who their customer is or who they want their customer to be before they can actually start to work on a marketing strategy?
Yeah, I think sometimes businesses can think they know who their customers are, or they think they know who they're trying to target, but actually they're attracting a completely different type of customer. So to understand them, it's things like looking at, you know, who is it that's purchasing from you, or who are your clients, what type of people they are, and asking those questions, talking to them is golden. And it's something that businesses don't do enough of, asking those questions about why did you want to work with me? What was it that attracted you? Where did you hear about me? All of that sort of stuff is going to give you so much information so that you can you know, use it in your marketing.
And do you find people are almost afraid of doing that? Are they afraid of
I think there's they're not quite sure how to do it. And you know, obviously I'd be saying, well, get someone external to do it, because actually you get more information if someone external does it than if you do it yourself.
You get more honesty,
and people are more honest. And the other thing is, if you've had a client where you've not had a great experience, or they've not had a great experience, it's also important to understand what happened there, because you can then preempt that in your marketing. You can, you know, explain that more to begin with, and then you're attracting the right sort of people.
And from a business strategy perspective, I think this is such an important area, because if you're not clear about this, then what happens is exactly what you touched upon there, is you've got this picture in your head of who you want to work with, but that's not who actually comes to you. And that makes such a difference to enjoying your business, to doing your best work, to you know, actually delivering the best value. And one of the things I always talk to people about in terms of their business strategy is getting absolutely clear about who they want to work with. And I think it's often one of those things where people come into business, they start their business with this really clear picture of who they want to help. And sometimes that just turns out to not be a viable option. There aren't enough of those people, or they don't have the budget, or various different reasons. And often it then turns into, well, we'll work with whoever has got the budget and who will pay us. But runs the risk of you're not working with quite the right people. So, you know, I'm frequently talking to people about the fact that it's your choice. And, you know, you have the right to say, I want to specifically work with clients that are like this, whether that's, and for me, it's less about demographic, and it's very often more about values, about attitude, about, you know, things like it might be someone that's got a similar approach to the environment to you or anything like that. But from a business strategy perspective, I'm very much talking to people about being really clear about exactly who you want to work with and defining that as much as possible. And then that's where I think then I hand them over to you, Gill, and you say, okay, great, where are these people? What are they thinking? What are they doing?
Yeah, but I think there's also an element of you can define who you'd like your customer or client to be, but if you find you're attracting a different kind of person, do you want that? You know, that might work better. And actually that might be the way your business goes. So it's important to keep reviewing it.
Absolutely it is, yeah. I think it's well, I guess there's 3 phases to it almost, isn't there? Is there three or 4? It's the planning piece, it's the implementation piece, it's the reviewing piece, which people don't always do, and then it's the evolving piece, isn't it? So, I guess that's probably something that is very applicable to both of us, that sometimes people think, well, I'll create my business strategy, I'll create my marketing strategy, then it's done.
Yes.
Does it work like that for you, Gill?
No. Definitely not. It's always reviewed. Because the other thing is, your business goals might change, your personal goals might change. You might all of a sudden go, well, actually, I'm launching this service or this product, and we need to put some focus on that. And it's just continually, it's okay that it changes. It's not set in stone. This is the plan. This is what we're planning to do, but actually things are going to evolve and change as we go along.
Yeah, without a doubt. And really, that's how business is fun, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's still an element of keeping that focus.
Yes.
So if you're wanting to sell XYZ product, make sure you focus on that for a good chunk of time, because if you don't and you get distracted by big shiny things,
girls,
yes, then you know, your chances of achieving what you want to achieve are limited, aren't they?
What do you find tend to be the biggest sort of gaps, flaws, or mistakes that people make when it comes to marketing strategy?
Well, one, not having one. 2, not having it easily accessible, and 3, not reviewing it.
Yeah.
What about you with business strategy? Is it the same?
Yeah, probably exactly the same. I suppose the not having it is a really interesting one, and I think some of the resistance I hear on that is, well, I don't know where it's going, so this is just guesswork. I've been having a couple of really interesting conversations this week about the whole money thing, and people that say, well, I'm not money driven, so it's not about changing the world and being massive, and I don't need to build something that's hugely successful.
But then do you not ask the question, why are you doing it then?
Yes, but I mean, it's a deep question, that one, and that's why some of the conversations this week, because I've just had a client that's kind of worked through that stuff where she was very insistent, you know, I am not money driven, this is not about making a lot of money. But then at the same time, there would be little comments coming in about people that she'd worked with previously that are now earning more than she is, and knowing that she actually delivers much more than they do. So we poked and prodded and rummaged around that, and actually after a few weeks she said, it is okay to actually be money driven, isn't it? And she's changed her approach. But I think you can still be very values led and focus on having a profitable business. And that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see around business strategy, is that people think you are either you're either a good person or you're someone that focuses on money.
But those values are massive, and you know, can be a reason why people work with you.
Absolutely, yeah, without a doubt. But I think your values can also be it. That to me is one of the crucial things about business strategy, because actually, if your business strategy And if you fall for all the stuff you hear online about, well, my business strategy is to get to 10K months or a 7-figure year or whatever it is, and you choose those magic figures that we're all sort of told is what you want, it doesn't actually mean anything to you. It's just a random number. So actually your business strategy has to be something that's really intrinsically linked to your personal view of success, and something that's actually going to give you massive motivation to achieve it, but a huge sense of fulfillment when you get there.
And it's what you class as success as well, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, because it's a tricky one for me, because obviously I talk about helping people to grow a business. So people assume that the thing I always help people with is making more money. But sometimes I'm helping people just create a lot more balance in the business, helping them to build a team so they can take a step back. There isn't a one size fits all to any of that stuff. It's actually about believing in yourself enough to say, this is the thing that I really want, and then flesh out the steps behind that to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely.
So if somebody has never created a marketing strategy before and they're kind of going, ooh, so much marketing stuff, where do you think they should start?
The goal setting, definitely. But looking at, once you've identified who those customers are, what sort of tactics you can be using. So yes, there's posting on social media, lots of it, but it's doing it in the right places with some consistency. I use that word a lot. And making sure that where you are is where your potential customers and clients are.
Yeah.
So that you're not wasting time doing all this stuff and getting no results.
Yeah.
So
And
it doesn't,
feeling like you're selling your soul.
yeah, exactly. And like, yes, definitely post on social media and network and engage on social media, you know, in the right place, you're always going to win. But also think about, well, who do I already know in my network? Should I be messaging them? Or who do I already work with that I'd like to work with more?
Yeah.
How can I, grow that way? Or are there any traditional marketing methods that are missing? That we've all got used to doing stuff online, but is there something a little bit quirky I could do that hasn't been done for a long time?
Yeah. It's funny, actually, we have a Ukrainian lady living with us, and she commented after a few months, and she's built quite a network of Ukrainian friends locally, and she spends hours on the phone. And she'd say to me something about, have you spoken to Abby? And I'll say, oh, I've messaged her. And she commented one day, like, you don't pick up the phone. And we had to say, oh no, British people don't do phones anymore.
Yeah,
Everything through message.
Yeah, it is now,
But
particularly with
I think it's
WhatsApp.
interesting because you talk there about sort of old-fashioned techniques. And when I first started my business, and I am going back a bit now, I built my business initially through telemarketing, through cold calls, sometimes letter cold calls. And I think, fair enough, I'm going back a few years now, so perhaps I'd get a different response. Perhaps no one would bother answering the phone anymore. But I actually found the response was so much better and so much warmer than the perception of it. As long as you're nice and you're warm and you're not, you don't just talk over people, it's remarkable how many people will have a conversation with you because no one else is talking to them.
No. And the thing about using your phone now is people screen, don't they? So although you leave a message, well, how likely are they to call you back? So yeah, telemarketing. Possibly if you know the person.
Yeah,
I
genuinely think it's still a strategy that works. I think realistically these days you probably need to use an experienced telemarketing company to do it.
Yes,
or you need to be very determined and very thick-skinned.
Yes, very much so.
So something you've touched on a couple of times, Gill, is making sure that you market where your customers are. So can you give people any tips on how you find that out? Because I think most people find that out by gut instinct or asking a couple of their mates.
First of all, ask your current clients. Where did they find you?
What you're doing, yeah.
Ask your current customers, clients. Look at your social media insights. that'll tell you lots of information, and Google Analytics will tell you where people are coming to your website from. There's a key bit of research within a strategy or plan that would look at all of that and pull all that together, but it gives you information like how old they are, where they are, what their interests are, all that sort of thing. But it does also tell you what platform they came to you from. Did they search directly? What keywords did they use?
Yeah.
So you can be using those keywords in your marketing, your blogs, your social media, all of that.
So actually, when people are asking themselves those questions about, I'm not quite sure what works, I'm not quite sure whether I'm in the right places, I'm not quite sure whether I'm, spending all this energy doing the right things, there are analytics there. If people take the time to understand them, it will give them a lot of evidence to back up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Do you have any analysis that you put into a business strategy?
So the analysis in the business strategy, there's a whole thing, there's a whole page in my planning day workshop, which is all about,
right.
Here are some examples, and I think it's got about 35 different examples of things you could choose to measure. The key thing is that if you've started off your business strategy by getting really clear on your objectives, then you track against those objectives.
Yeah.
So it might be, for instance, that one of your objectives is to charge better pricing or be more consistent with it, in which case you would measure something like the price per sale. So you'd be looking very much at, okay, what's the focus over the next 3 months? What do I need to measure to evidence that that's going in the right direction? Sometimes, if, for instance, see, some of the things that I look at also is, if you're spending all this time and all this money sometimes on your marketing, are you then putting in place all the processes and systems in your business that would give you the best chance of actually converting those things to sales? And I think lots of people are very sort of paranoid about the whole concept of sales and selling and being pushy and anything like that. But then actually, by measuring things like your conversion rates, that tells you what's working, but it also tells you, is there a real sticking point there when everything drops off a cliff? In which case, what can you actually do about it? So with things like that, somebody might actually have 2 or 3 or 4 different conversion rates through their process. So we would look at what's happening. Are you actually getting the best results from all this brilliant marketing you're doing, because you're then doing the right steps to turn that into business?
Yeah. And it's the same in marketing when you're doing conversion rate optimization, which is basically looking at a website and finding out what's that customer journey once they arrive on your website, and why aren't they clicking that button?
Yeah.
And what would make them click that button and things like that. So again, it's like you do in the business, where do they drop off?
Yeah.
Marketing, where do they drop off and why do they drop off?
Yes. And something that you're hitting on quite often there is the analytics bit. It's the evaluation. And I think in so many areas of business, people kind of hurtle on, they've always got their 14-page to-do list and a million different things to do, and I want to do this and this and this, and I still haven't achieved 9 million things, so I'm just going to keep plowing on. And so many people think that taking the time to do the analysis is not time well spent. I could be doing more marketing instead. But actually, if they're not evaluating how the marketing's working, where are we losing people, how can we increase conversion rates, inquiries, sales, whatever it is, you can end up doing half the marketing with twice the results if you do the evaluation and the evolution piece as well.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to have those analysis. I can't get my words out. That analysis built into your plan. You do it once a month or you do it once a fortnight, so you're not spending months doing one thing and then realizing, oh, actually that's not working. So you can adapt and change.
Do you find it difficult to talk somebody out of stepping away from some marketing they've been doing for ages?
Not really. Not if you show them the evidence of,
okay, good.
If that's not working and that's not the people you want to reach, then perhaps you should try this instead. then no, they're quite open to it.
That's good.
To be
But that's
honest,
because
they're
you're
quite,
data driven, you
"Oh,
see,
do
and
you?"
you're giving them that
Some
evidence.
people,
Whereas
yeah,
what I see, and this is because people don't have a clear enough strategy really, is that very often they'll have been doing, 4 types of marketing for the last 6 months, and now the world is saying Pinterest is the way to go. So they add in Pinterest, but they don't drop anything else. And as I often talk to people about, if you want to add something into your business, unless you have suddenly got a load more time in the day, you've got to find something to remove. You've got to make that space. But
Yeah.
people are really loath to do that. But I think that's because they don't have the data.
No.
Their gut says, well, I get loads of great conversations on Instagram, but their gut is not clearly telling them, yes, but you haven't gained a customer from that from the last 300 years.
Yes. So therefore, what could you do? Either what could you do differently on Instagram? What's not working in your Instagram strategy? Or because if that's where your people are, then something needs to change there. Or is it about going somewhere else and doing something different and putting the time in there?
Data is the big decision maker, isn't it? I remember somebody saying to me a few years ago, and I guess this is the other thing, is that a lot of people really don't like admin, and they see data as just admin and really boring drudgery admin, but they don't necessarily see the reason to gather that data. And somebody said to me years ago, which really stuck with me, is that the sole purpose of data is to allow you to make decisions. So if it's some data that you are not going to make a decision based on, then you are literally wasting your time. But then that's what to do. Gather data that allows you to make decisions, and then it becomes really, really key and really juicy for your business. Because I think once people actually get into this stuff and they realize the power of the plan, the analysis, the evolution, then people get really excited by it. So that's
And
what
when
you
they
and I
can,
did to do, Jill.
and when they can see the results as well, like, oh yeah, that is actually working, then
Yeah, that definitely makes
they
a big
get that
difference,
it's
doesn't it?
worthwhile.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Did I think I'm having one of those moments. I think I asked you, didn't I, about how people can get started if they've not done this before?
Yes. And I
Okay.
said, start with the objectives,
Yes.
and then who you're going to talk to, and then what tactic are you going to use.
Yes. And actually, I just realised there's probably a fair old chunk that we haven't touched on at all today, which is what you're going to sell, and how much you're going to ask people to charge for it, ask people to pay for it. So we haven't really touched on that, and really those are crucial parts of that early development of strategy, is getting super clear on your products, your pricing, your packaging, and building that clarity so that you're not building those things because it's what somebody asks you or because somebody tells you that they'd like a different price or anything like that. So yeah, all that stuff comes into our juicy strategies. So Jill, I think it's fair to say that when we kicked off this idea of having this conversation, that triggered quite a bit of additional conversation and lots of really juicy conversations about how aligned what we do is. So what are we going to do with this next, Jill, do you think?
I think we might do a couple of webinars.
Ooh,
Do you?
I think we might do that, yes. So we're going to do a couple of webinars in the next 4 or 5 weeks, getting you to understand and start to go into some of the practicalities of how to develop your own marketing and business strategies. And we're going to do the second webinar is going to be all about how to do the analysis, the key performance indicators, the data, where to find it, what it tells you, what to do with it. And I think there's loads of confusion around all of that. So keep your eye on my social profiles, keep your eye on Jill's social profiles. If you're on our mailing lists, I'm sure it'll be coming out on those things too. Or just drop either of us a message. They'll be coming out in the next few days. I think the first one is the 28th of September.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll be putting loads of info out about those kind of things. There will be a small charge. I think, did we say 25 quid, Jill? It's not a huge amount of money. It's not because we want to make loads of money, although we are in business and business should be focused on making a profit. But it's more to firstly give you a bit of accountability so that you don't just book in and then go, nah, a bit busy today, I'll just not bother. but it's also to demonstrate the fact that these will be webinars of value. These are not going to be, we'll give you value for 3.5 minutes and then we'll sell at you for 57. It's absolutely not that. We might talk to you about what we do for 2 minutes at the end. But there'll be really valuable, juicy stuff that you can take away and implement in your business straight away. So watch this space, drop us a message, connect with us both, book yourself into the webinars, and we'll all get crack-a-lacking. Gill, how can people get hold of you? Where can they find you? What are your social profiles?
So they can find me on Facebook and Instagram, which is at Cherry Aid Marketing, and Cherry Aid is, the aid is AID. And I'm on LinkedIn as Gill Bishop. And
they can go onto your website and sign to your
website, yeah, which is cherryaidmarketing.co.uk.
Fabulous. And for anybody that doesn't know me, although I think we're largely on my profiles, my business is Tailory, so you'll find me at tailory.co.uk. You'll find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, on various guises of Paula at Tailory. So we hope to see you all very soon and share lots of more juicy stuff about marketing and business strategies. Thank you very much, Gill, for being my guest today. And we will see you all soon. Goodbye.